My name is Annabelle, and the day my husband asked me to help pay off his sister's $15,000 loan, I had no idea I was stepping into a trap built on lies. I thought I was saving family, but I ended up uncovering a secret so dark, so manipulative, it nearly destroyed my marriage. And trust me, when I finally found proof of what she was really doing with our money, she couldn't talk her way out of it. Not this time. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who smiled to your face while stabbing you in the back, hit that like button. Because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking family betrayals and one of the most satisfying justice moments you'll ever experience. And if you're new here, subscribe for more stories just like this. I always believed that marriage meant unity, not perfection, just the messy kind of unity where two people hold each other up when life gets heavy. My husband, Ethan, and I had been married for 5 years. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but overall I trusted him deeply. Maybe that's why his next words hit me so hard. It was a Wednesday night, one of those quiet ones where the refrigerator hums louder than usual and the house feels still. Ethan sat across from me at the dining table, fingers intertwined, shoulders tense. That should have been my first red flag. Ethan only sat like that when he was about to ask for something or confess something. "Annabelle," he said softly, "I need your help with something. It's about my sister." His sister. Those two words already tightened my chest. Lucinda, my sister-in-law, had always been a tricky relationship for me. She wasn't cruel, but she had this talent for being helpless. Constantly. She always needed saving, always had a crisis brewing, always managed to make her problems feel like emergencies we were obligated to solve. Still, I took a slow breath. "Okay, what's going on?" Ethan hesitated, biting his lower lip. Another red flag. "She's in trouble. She took out a $15,000 loan. High interest. She can't pay it off. She's scared." I blinked. 15,000? Ethan, how did she even? He cut me off. I know it sounds bad, but she really needs help. And I was thinking maybe we could, help her a little. Just until she gets back on her feet. I stared at him, trying to understand whether this was a genuine request or emotional manipulation disguised as concern. For a moment, I saw the little boy in him, the one who grew up protecting Lucinda because no one else would. But the adult version of me knew something else. Lucinda always ran into trouble, and Ethan always cleaned it up. Still, I swallowed my irritation. "How much is she asking for?" He exhaled sharply. 3,000. Just to help her make a dent. 3,000. The number made my stomach twist. We weren't broke, but we weren't rolling in luxury either. 3,000 wasn't pocket change. It was the cost of repairs for our leaking roof. It was almost half of what I'd saved for an emergency fund. It was sacrifices. Real ones. And Ethan knew that. But he also knew I wouldn't immediately say no if someone truly needed help. So I asked the most important question. "What exactly is the loan for?" His eyes dropped to the table. She said, "Medical bills." The pause between said and medical was small, maybe less than half a second. But my gut noticed it. My gut screamed at me. Still, I forced a nod. "Okay, I'll help, but I want to see the paperwork. Medical bills, loan documents, anything." He shook his head too quickly. "I already checked. It's legit. She's embarrassed about it, Annabelle. She doesn't want you to see the details." There it was. The moment the ground shifted. Whenever someone refuses transparency about money, it's rarely because of embarrassment. It's because they're hiding something. But Ethan looked at me with hopeful eyes that wanted me to say yes, so he wouldn't feel like he was choosing between his wife and his sister. So, I gave in. I transferred $3,000 the next morning. And that should have been the end of part one of his story, me being the supportive wife, Lucinda using the money for her medical bills, and us moving on. But something changed that very afternoon. It started with a message. A simple text from Lucinda that said absolutely nothing. Because it never came. "No, thank you." "No, I appreciate you helping me." Not even a half-hearted emoji. Silence. And that silence told me more about the truth than any confession ever could. A normal person, in debt, scared, and supposedly drowning in medical issues, would at least acknowledge being helped. But Lucinda didn't, and that tiny missing text sparked something inside me. A question. a suspicion, a whisper of doubt that quickly grew louder. What if Ethan didn't know the real reason behind the loan? Because if Lucinda really was in crisis, she would have shown gratitude. Desperation makes people humble, at least for a moment. But entitlement silences gratitude like a switch. So I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I decided to investigate. Not because I didn't trust Ethan, but because I knew, deep down, he trusted his sister too much. And sometimes love can make people blind. But I wasn't blind. Not anymore. Something was wrong, and I was going to find out exactly what. Even if the truth destroyed everything. Something about Lucinda's silence gnawed at me. It wasn't just rude, it was suspicious. And when a person doesn't behave like someone in real crisis, it usually means the crisis isn't real. The next morning, while Ethan showered before work, I walked into the living room, sat down with my laptop, and opened my online banking. The $3,000 transfer was right there under completed transactions. Her name in bold. The money gone. And the uneasy knot in my stomach pulled tighter. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. What did she really need this for? I whispered it under my breath, as if saying it aloud would conjure the truth. But the truth wasn't going to come to me. I had to go find it. So I started small. I opened her social media accounts. Most people slip up online. They forget that the internet is a window into their real priorities. Lucinda wasn't very active, but I noticed something strange. 2 weeks before she desperately needed help paying her medical bills, she posted a picture of herself at a casino. Not just any casino, one an hour away, known for its high-stakes games. Her caption, "Feeling lucky tonight, winking face." I felt the cold rush of anger crawl up my spine. Lucky! Needing $15,000 for medical bills and blowing money at a casino did not add up. But one picture wasn't enough to accuse anyone of lying. People go places. Maybe she just watched others gamble. Maybe it was an old photo she decided to post. I needed more. So I went deeper. I checked tagged posts, comments, anything that had her name on it. And then there it was. A video. Grainy. Taken in low light. But unmistakable. Lucinda, sitting at a poker table. Chips stacked in front of her. Laughing. And the timestamp. 4 days before Ethan asked me to help her. My hands went cold. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't bad luck. This was a pattern. Lucinda hadn't been unlucky. She'd been reckless. I heard the shower stop upstairs. Ethan would be down any moment, so I quickly screenshotted everything and closed the tabs. My heart thudded as he entered the kitchen. He smiled at me, kissed my cheek, and poured himself coffee like our world wasn't slowly cracking open. "I'm going to check on Lucinda after work," he said casually, "just to see how she's holding up." My throat tightened. "Yeah, you do that." Because now I wasn't just suspicious. I was almost certain. But almost wasn't enough. I needed answers from Lucinda herself, not filtered through Ethan's empathy or her manipulative helplessness. So that afternoon, while Ethan was at work, I grabbed my keys and drove to her apartment. Every mile tightened the coil of tension inside me. By the time I reached her door, my pulse hammered, so loudly it felt like the hallway echoed with it. I raised my fist, knocked once, twice. The door swung open, and she froze when she saw me. Her eyes flashed with something that wasn't gratitude. It was fear. And for the first time I knew I was about to uncover something she never wanted me to see. Lucinda stood in the doorway like she'd seen a ghost. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the doorframe, her shoulders stiffened, and her expression flickered between surprise and something darker. "Annabelle," she muttered, voice thinner than usual. What are you doing here?" There it was. Not a smile. Not a welcome. Just panic. I kept my face neutral. "I came to check on you. Can I come in?" She hesitated. A full 3 seconds. Then she stepped aside. Her apartment smelled faintly of stale perfume, greasy takeout, and something else. Something synthetic and sharp, like cold cigarette smoke mixed with adrenaline. The living room was cluttered, empty water bottles everywhere, bills stacked on the coffee table, and a half-open purse spilling poker chips. Poker chips! My pulse thudded. She saw my eyes flick down and immediately rushed to cover the purse with a jacket. Too late. The image was burned into my brain. "So," she said too quickly, "what's up?" I sat down on the edge of her couch. I transferred the money yesterday. She froze. Her smile disappeared. Oh, cool. Thanks. Thanks. That was it. No emotion. No relief. Just flat. I was expecting at least a message, I said calmly, watching her face. She fumbled for words. Yeah, sorry, I've been overwhelmed. Medical stuff. It's been rough. Medical stuff, I repeated softly. Her eyes darted away. Yeah, she said, clearing her throat. Hospital bills, scans, insurance issues, you know how it is. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Lucinda, we're family. If something is happening with your health, I need you to tell me honestly. What exactly is the condition you're being treated for? Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. She didn't have an answer. She hadn't expected the question. My voice remained calm. You see, I found something today. Her head snapped up. What? I found your casino posts. Color drained from her face. And the video someone tagged you in from 4 days before you asked for money. Her breathing quickened. Annabelle, I can explain. So explain. My voice sharpened, no longer soft. Explain why someone drowning in medical debt was gambling. She backed up, her spine pressing against the kitchen counter. It's not what you think. Really? I asked. Because what I think is that you lied. And not just to me. To your own brother. I didn't lie, she whispered. I just didn't tell him everything. That's the definition of lying. Tears welled in her eyes, but I saw through them. They weren't the tears of someone caught in pain, they were the tears of someone caught in a lie. She sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. I just needed money. I thought if I could win a little more, I could pay off the loan before anyone noticed. So there is no medical condition? I asked. Silence. Her shoulders trembled. Lucinda, I said firmly, look at me. She lifted her head, mascara smudged, lips trembling. No, she whispered. There's no medical condition. My heart sank. Not because of the lie itself, but because she had dragged Ethan, my husband, into her deception without a second thought. I sat back, letting the truth settle between us like dust in a long-forgotten room. For the first time in my life, I saw who Lucinda truly was, and I knew this was only the beginning. The silence in Lucinda's apartment felt heavier than the truth she had just confessed. No medical condition. No emergency. Just lies, piled on top of more lies. I inhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. So the entire $15,000 loan was for gambling? Lucinda wiped her cheeks, nodding miserably. Yes. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I thought I could win enough to pay it off. Then I lost more, and the interest kept growing, and I cut her off gently but firmly. And instead of facing it, you used Ethan's kindness. You knew he'd come running. You knew he'd ask me. You counted on it. She flinched, and for a moment, I saw something that looked like guilt. But guilt alone doesn't fix damage. I stood up slowly. Lucinda, you didn't just lie about money. You manipulated your own brother's marriage. She opened her mouth, desperate. Annabelle, please. You can't tell Ethan. He'll think I'm exactly what you've shown me. I snapped, my patience finally cracking. Yes, because that's what you are right now. She covered her face again, shoulders shaking. But this time, I could tell her tears weren't about remorse. They were about consequences. Real ones. I took a slow breath. I need to ask you something, and I want the truth. She nodded weakly. Did Ethan know any of this? The hesitation, just that tiny hitch in her breathing, told me before she spoke. No, she whispered. Relief washed over me like cool water. Ethan wasn't part of the lie. He was simply the victim of her patterns, just like he had always been. And suddenly, my anger found a new focus. Not just at Lucinda, but at the unhealthy dynamic that had existed in their family for years. A cycle of rescuing, covering, enabling. A cycle that had followed Ethan into adulthood. A cycle that ended today. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. Lucinda, I need you to tell Ethan the truth yourself. She paled instantly. No. Please, Annabelle, I'm begging you. I'm not asking, I said, voice steady. I'm telling you what needs to happen. You've lied to him, used him, and dragged me into this mess. The least you can do is tell him the truth. She shook her head violently, panic rising. He'll hate me. He'll stop talking to me. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. But this isn't about protecting your feelings anymore. It's about protecting our marriage. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. You don't have to do this. I met her gaze with unflinching calm. Yes, I do. Without another word, I pressed the record button on my phone. Lucinda's eyes widened. What are you doing? Making sure, I said quietly, that when you try to twist the story later, the truth remains intact. She gasped, backing away, shaking her head. You can't do that. I already have, I said. And unless you tell Ethan yourself, I'm going to. The room fell into a suffocating stillness. Because she knew. This time, there was no manipulating her way out. This time, the truth had already begun unraveling. And she had nowhere left to hide. Lucinda sank into the chair, hands trembling over her lap. She finally realized the stakes. I had her confession recorded. Every lie, every attempt to manipulate, every excuse she had tried to spin. There was no escape this time. I took a deep breath. Lucinda, it's time to tell him. Now. No more games. Her lips quivered, her voice barely a whisper. Annabelle, I can't. He'll hate me forever. Maybe, I said softly, but he deserves the truth. And we deserve honesty in this family. You've crossed a line, and it's time to own it. For a long moment, she said nothing. Her eyes darted to the floor, then to the phone, then back to me. I could see the internal battle raging. Fear, shame, desperation, but also a flicker of acceptance. Finally, she nodded. I'll tell him, she murmured. The next evening, Ethan returned home. Lucinda was already sitting at the dining table, face pale, hands folded in front of her like a child caught red-handed. Ethan, I need to tell you something, she began, voice shaking. I watched silently from the doorway, arms crossed, heart pounding. I wanted him to see the truth for himself, to see her reaction, to understand that the web of lies had been carefully pulled apart, not in anger but in clarity. Lucinda swallowed, exhaled, then finally confessed. The words tumbled out. No medical bills, the gambling, the lies, the manipulation. Her voice cracked, her shoulders shook, but she kept talking. Ethan's face fell. Shock, disbelief, hurt, all mixed together. He sat silently, letting the words hit him like stones. I could see the betrayal burn across his features, but also the relief of knowing the truth. No more guessing, no more hidden agendas. When she finally stopped, the room was silent except for the soft hum of the fridge. Then Ethan looked at her, and his voice was calm but firm. Lucinda, I don't know what to say. I'm hurt, very hurt, but thank you for finally being honest. I exhaled slowly, feeling the tension in my chest ease just slightly. Then I turned to Lucinda. We're willing to help you, if you agree to boundaries. No more lies, no more hiding, and you will repay what you borrowed, or there will be consequences. Her nod was small but sincere. Over the next few weeks, things began to shift. Lucinda entered counseling for her gambling addiction. Ethan and I worked on rebuilding trust within our marriage. The money she owed was carefully managed, and slowly, the cycle of manipulation started to break. The experience tested us. It pushed our marriage to the edge, but in the end, it made us stronger. And I realized something important. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set boundaries. Sometimes protecting yourself and your marriage is the true act of justice. Because revenge isn't always about humiliation or punishment. Sometimes it's about truth, clarity, and finally standing up to the people who think they can manipulate your heart. And that night, as Ethan and I sat quietly in our living room, I felt a deep sense of relief. Not because Lucinda had been punished, but because honesty finally won. For once, the scales of fairness had been balanced. And for us, that was the sweetest kind of justice. Family isn't always fair, and sometimes the people you love most can betray you. But the real power isn't in revenge. It's in truth, boundaries, and protecting the ones who matter. That's the lesson I learned the hard way, and it's one I'll never forget. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever uncovered a shocking family secret? And don't forget to subscribe for more emotionally charged stories like this, because sometimes the truth is the most satisfying revenge of all.